All right, everybody, cheers. Happy summer camp.
Woo!
Oh, or that. Yeah. Yay. Welcome to the show, everybody. We're here. We have a really exciting guest today. Well, we're live at our Equestrian Adult Amateur Summer Camp. We're missing some people, but we're recording it for them so they can jump back in. So we're so excited to have you here.
Yeah, thanks.
So tell us who you are and what you do.
Yes. Well, I'm Haleigh, and I'm a mental performance coach. I've got a background in counseling, but grew up riding. I primarily did 3-day eventing as well as some hunters, and just have such a passion for working with riders and their horses and their partnerships, and just conquering those mental, physical barriers that we have, that are hindering us from our goals.
For sure. And funny enough, you guys will find this funny. I had a good crash out on the internet. So I was crying on camera, and Haleigh reached out to me and she was like, hey, you look like you might need some help.
I did not even realize that was the timing of that. I actually just listened to that podcast today.
So I thought it was like so funny. I was like, oh my God, it's very fitting and deserved. So it's not a problem, but we're really excited to have you here for sure.
I'm happy to be here too.
Yeah. So this is Equestrian Adult Amateur Summer Camp. So we all have things that we struggle with, deal with. I know I'm going to talk about my personal struggles today. But in terms of just, I just really want to know, first off, for adult amateurs, what is the most common thing you're dealing with when you work with us?
A lot of comparison, as well as just them getting in their own way.
Yeah.
Which I've been guilty of that too. It's just that comparison lens comes across, and I don't have time to meet my goals.
Right.
We're, seeing a little bit more of our sense of mortality. We're not, 15 anymore, just going for it. We have a little bit more of that reservation and stuff. But that's primarily what I see with adult amateurs, and just having difficulty feeling like they're going to mess up.
Yeah. Do you guys feel like that's something that you deal with, struggle with? All the things? No. Chelsea's perfect. Yeah.
You really get tied to it going a certain way.
For sure.
Absolutely. No, I agree. And so I think the comparison thing, I think that I don't know if I necessarily always had the comparison problem, but I definitely had other problems, obviously. But comparison, I guess really the comparison thing that I struggled with is when my horse, I didn't have a nice, super nice horse. Sam and I talked about that today. I got Sunny for $1,200 when I was just married, and I didn't have the budget for a really fancy horse. And so when we hit roadblocks, as you normally do, I would get very frustrated because people would, friends would either come to the barn, or other horses at the barn were not having these problems, and they were much younger than him. And I'm like, there's something wrong with him. And I just remembered this really specific moment. This was probably 5 years ago, and I had a really particularly terrible lesson, and I just looked at my trainer at the time, and I'm like, this is never going to get better. And my friend was videoing me, and I'm like, why are you videoing me? And she said, because one day you're going to look back at this, and you're going to have this to remember that, that he was, how far you guys have come. And so I always compared myself through those eyes and that type of thing, because I always just never could afford the nice horse. So that's something that I always struggled with. But I guess that is a somewhat comparison whether you do have a really nice horse, and maybe and I guess it always bumps up a notch, right? If you have the nice horse, well, then you really want to beat or you were comparing yourself against the other really nice horses and all the things. So how do you get someone out of that mentality? How do you pull someone out of that comparison struggle?
Yeah, a lot of what I start with is just being able to identify it when it's happening in real time, because sometimes it's kind of shielded behind things, where it's oh, well, I'm not showing at this place. And so it may not be a direct comparison to a person, but maybe just an event. And so I like to kind of help people identify that, because essentially what we're doing when we compare is we're identifying like our insides, like the way we are feeling to the way somebody else is looking. And so we may be knowing, like you said, the struggle of not being able to afford the horse maybe that you essentially wanted during that time, and seeing other people that are. So being able to like identify it is just like half of the beast of that, but also just being able to like refocus on your goals. And not everybody's had your experience, you know, so just really, I know that sounds like kind of simple to do, but it's can be hard in the moment because you're just so fixated on like, but I'm not doing what I want to be doing. So being able to just kind of come back to your journey, refocus to your goals and what you're working on, really.
And I feel like that's also like an age thing, right? I feel like as I got older, I just stopped giving a shit, you know? I just didn't care anymore. Yeah, cheers to that. Yeah. But, you know, through my 20s and in my early 30s, it just was hard to, because, you know, if you have a horse that maybe is, whether it's green or it's young or it has issues or whatever, and you're watching all your friends go horse show and have fun and do all these things, and that's really difficult. So when you're dealing with a client that's maybe in that mindset, what are some quick things that they can do when they're present to pull themselves out of that,
out of the comparison mindset? Essentially, like grounding is something that can be really helpful, because our minds can just spin so quickly on something, and it may be that there's like an underlying nervousness there as well, and so those things are kind of like wiring together in that moment. So being able to just like reground yourself, remind yourself like what you're doing. So if you're like in the warm-up ring and you just like saw somebody go, they had a great round, you're not really feeling great about like how your warm-up went, going back to the facts of like, what do you have underneath you right now, you know, going back to your connection with your horse, those kinds of things can be really helpful, like just to kind of regroup. Essentially, you're kind of turning the page before you go into the show ring.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about performance anxiety. Who has performance anxiety? Okay, I also want to know, everybody has like a different symptom. Like I start to get, like my mouth starts to get really, really dry when I get nervous. I don't know if that's like really weird. I don't know why. But I'll start to get like really, really like dry mouth. And that's like the number one thing. I don't really get like where I feel like I'm going to shit myself or anything.
Have you ever gotten like your whole body just goes numb? And you're like, oh, they've like blown the whistle. I need to go.
Oh, no.
I've had that happen before. And I'm like, oh, I'm in here alone. I'm going to get going.
Oh, gosh. No,
I've had that happen before.
Yeah. I'll get like, you know, the dry mouth, and then I'll get like a bout of like lightheadedness for a second. Like just that anxiety like hit you. But that's really it. But I usually, now that I'm 975, I've done it enough that I know what it is, and I just recognize it, and I just move on. So what do you guys have when you're dealing with performance anxiety? Whether that's lessons, whether that's horse shows, what are you guys struggling with? And you guys can grab this mic. Don't jump at once. Well, no. I'll just reiterate what you say. So you like black out.
I think it was fun.
Yeah.
That's actually really common. I see that with a lot of riders of all ages, really. It's one of my first questions is, do you remember what you just did? And where did you? Yes. And if they're doing like a jumping course, I'll say, okay, you had 10 jumps. How many do you remember? And most of the time it's like 2.
Really?
Yeah, most of the time it's 2. So what happens is our nervous system is kind of overriding in that moment. So you were talking about like the dry mouth, the lightheadedness, that's kind of like entering into that. But whenever we are so overloaded with stress, whether that's physical or mental stress, our body just kind of checks out. And it's like, okay, this is a little too stressful. I'm going to like give you a break, but we're still riding.
We're still going.
Still going. So there's a lot of, just like deer in the headlight look sometimes. So being able to just kind of like pay attention to when that happens, if it happens at home or just at shows, and practice some things as simple as counting. That I love, telling people about that, because it's something that keeps you in your stride. You're breathing, but you're also aware of what you're doing.
Sing a song. I sing Taylor Swift religiously. Yeah. I love Julie. Everybody loves Taylor Swift.
I saw a video recently about a girl singing Hot to Go on cross country. And
nice.
I was like, go girl.
Heck yes.
Do you find that the people who have those issues either started later in life or don't horse show as often? Because I feel like the kids, the one thing that I notice as a trainer is that the kids who horse show consistently and the ones who actually won are the kids that showed all over the place. It was second nature to them. So they walk in the ring.
Right.
They didn't all of a sudden like sit up. Like they didn't have to perform.
Sure.
Natural. Just like performance.
It was like a flow for them.
It's easy because it's not a. I feel very like I changed the minute I go into India.
Yes.
When you started showing later in life. Yeah, I didn't show until my.
Yeah.
Do you show often or not? No, I cannot afford to show often. Well, then you don't really know, but then you have the stop getting anxiety about other people. You have anxiety in your group lesson. Yeah, I don't like other people in the room. Right, so that's the same sort of thing. Like having people watch you.
Watch. I showed fairly often when I was younger, and I had really bad performance anxiety. It's gotten better though. I think I was more like going to other places.
I agree. I think I had worse performance anxiety when I was younger than I do now. But I also, I also think that when I was younger, I didn't horse show. I didn't have a junior career. I didn't really horse show that much. So we did horse show, it felt really heavy. Like it was like this pinnacle moment. But now, I'm horse showing every month most of the time, and I'm on green horses. I'm 38 years old, and I'm just like, look, I'm just here. If we get around and we have fun, that's great. I'm not going to the Olympics. Yeah. So I think the mindset's very different. Whereas when I was a kid, it was like, this is a big deal. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that I always saw girls that were horse showing when I was a junior and a young girl, and they didn't have performance anxiety, or at least I couldn't tell if they did,
I would say what I've seen is if the kid is a little more anxious in general, then regardless of how much they've horse showed, I'm just thinking of a few clients that I've had, they want it so desperately, but they're still struggling with a lot of that anxiety. And essentially it's just transferring with them from the ground into the tack. And so until they get those skills to really learn how to channel it, to a helpful way, then it's just kind of following them around.
Yeah. Will you grab the mic? Yeah. You're not on camera. No one can see you.
One thing that I've seen though a lot.
There's no camera on you guys. It's not even on you guys. Yeah, it is.
Is this on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with your girls, you're in the IHSA? No. That's high school.
IHSA, no, that's the club teams.
Oh. That was what we did in Statesboro. Okay.
Yeah. This is the D1.
You're D1.
Yeah.
So are you with that group of young girls? Do you see a lot of performance anxiety from them?
Shockingly, there are a few because the setup is so different, but most of those riders are like
zoned in.
I mean, they live for it.
Yeah.
Like so a lot of the kids will come and they want to be starters, and then they go in and they go, oh God, because it's harder to see in that situation. Like if you're going to McClay finals and you're against 300 people, you're like, oh, I'm one of 300. And, so, and it's just me. And on the team aspect, you're trying to win a point for the team.
Right.
That makes
sense.
So it's a different amount of pressure. So some of those kids really get nervous because all of a sudden it's not just about them.
Yeah.
It's about the team. And so a lot of them think it's even worse. It's more stress than it was. But, but then you have the athletes, even like my son's baseball and, all that when it comes down to the final point, right? Or the base is loaded. and they're up. And I'm always like, oh God, I hate that. I hate that. I hate, like if one of my kids was, this is the deciding point.
Right.
And they're like, are you kidding? We love it. And I'm like, really? I would melt into a puddle. But like they live for that adrenaline.
Some people
which
really
is the
thrive
opposite,
in it.
right, of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So, but there are some really good riders that decided they didn't love being in that position because it was more of a team versus individual.
Yeah. Well, Sarah and I rode on the Georgia Southern club team together, and I rode for a year. Talk about performance anxiety. I rode on the team for a year because I couldn't take it. They put me as point rider, and I was like, nope,
Yeah.
I'm not doing this. Yeah. And then like the coach would get so mad at me if like I didn't do well. I'm like,
it's
help with this. I'm not doing this.
That.
Yeah, I am not that person.
But those are athletes, people like the
people
who go out and want to go pro. I mean, they love
100%. They live, and you should if you're gonna do it.
Right, you should. You should live for that.
Yeah. I am not that
I didn't
girl.
grow up horse showing like that or any of that, so I can't imagine. But both my girls love that. Come and watch me. I'm like, look away.
Yeah.
I love
They're like, look at me.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Look away.
I think kind of like what you're saying too about
Thank you.
About like different factors for adult amateurs. Like I feel I've gotten better at setting goals for myself and like being comfortable with like, oh, I just want to do one round where like I don't miss a change, or I want to do one round where like I didn't chip to anything. And I'm happy like with that sort of success. But the external factors, it's kind of like the kids, it's like, oh, now I'm riding for a team. Like if my husband knows I'm showing, it's like a different set of stress, It's like you come home, it's like, well, did you win? And like they're not horse people, so they don't get it. But like it just changes the way that you feel focused, because it's not just about your own goals anymore. And you're like, oh, I don't want to let like my trainer down, or I don't want to let, my family, like, not that they're invested in it, but it's just like embarrassing when it's like, oh, there was 5 people in my class and I got 5th. Like that sucks to say. Or like I'm like, oh, I got 2nd, and they're like, well, out of how many? And you're like, 4.
Yeah.
Yeah,
2.
So it's, so it's, but even if I was like so happy with my round, I was like, or there's 20 people and I'm like, I don't even care if I place it all. Like I did everything I came here to do, and I'm like happy with that. But it's hard to like, it's hard enough getting yourself on board with that. And then it's like a whole other obstacle to explain to any key players in your life. Like that's your primary goal right now.
Understands first.
I think in this sport, other sports, it's win or lose, first, second, third, whatever. But sometimes your 6th place is way better than your first place.
Yeah.
The actual course was better. You just happened to be 6th versus your first place. Well, it doesn't matter, but I'm just saying, like, say it's 6 out of 20. Right. Your 6th place was your better course. You just, for you personally, but 5 people had a better round. But then you won 1 out of 20. And it was worse than your round of 6 out of 20. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's hard to explain to people. And so then you have to go, well, what does that mean?
Yeah. So if we're all your client and we are all dealing with different, I'm sure, like I said, everybody's dealing with different performance anxieties. Yeah. But how are you coaching somebody that, like the classic adult amateur, like Chelsea was saying, like she gets into the ring, she gets straight back, like she blacks out. Like how are you?
Not from the wine.
Not from the wine. Yeah, no.
Just blacking out in general.
Like she's there, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, you have somebody else that maybe like has like a different set of troubles and issues and things that, you're dealing more maybe with like a comparison issue or something like that. So how would you, if we're walking into the ring, how are you helping us?
Good question. So a lot of what I start with is on the ground before I even go to a show with people. But that's honestly like my favorite place is like the show ring with people.
Yeah.
And
so now do you go to the horse show like with, oh wow.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Yes, I go to shows.
Yeah.
I absolutely can.
She's in California.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I've never been to California. But yeah, I start on the ground. I have just like worked with people at a horse show for the first time. They're like, hey, I really need you. And it's like worked out great. And we just, go with it. But I like to kind of see like where your nervous system is like functioning from, which I know sounds like kind of an odd thing to say.
No, I think that's great.
We have a lot of like stuck points that we can identify on the ground, and starting just like your ride essentially starts like the first time you think about it for the day. Like, oh, I got to go grab my boots here. It's like,
what if it starts like 3 weeks before
yeah,
and you're like,
yeah. So it's like being able to just like really take those thoughts like and be very picky with like how you start thinking about your ride. So you had mentioned like you go in and just kind of freeze, you disassociate a little bit. Being able to just like give yourself a lifeline in that moment can be so helpful. Something as simple as saying, it's the same ride. It's the same ride as at home. I'm just in a different place. There's more people, there's more distractions, but this is the same ride. Because essentially what's happening is your body is like experiencing a potential threat, and it's like sending all these alerts up to your mind, right? And so your mind's going, what have I missed? What are we doing? Why do I do this? I don't think I like this. This is supposed to be fun. I'm not having fun. So being able to like just kind of reground, essentially, there's no like one size fits all.
For sure.
My background is 1-to-1, and that's like where I've learned that like I thrive with people to be able to like help them get from point A to point B. So all that to say, I really like to start on the ground with people to kind of work there so that they're doing things like before they even drive to the barn, or for you, walk across the field to the barn, so that we're already kind of like getting our body and our mind warmed up. Because if you think about like you're warming your horse up, you're walking, for 5+ minutes and a working walk, a free walk, you're getting them ready for the ride. So what are we doing for ourselves? Because essentially our mind and our body are always in communication, and it's either going to help you flow, kind of what you were saying, Leslie, for those kids, they're just like drinking it up. They're going, they're flowing, versus if we're kind of unsure, we're not going to ride it as strong.
Yeah.
So being able to just really help people get from those kind of stuck points to being able to like find more of that flow, because that's where the mind kind of goes on this autopilot essentially, because you're able to utilize the technical skills that you guys work on every day.
Well, I can tell you what I do for my adults.
Yeah.
Is I do the same warm up pretty much every lesson.
Nice.
And at first I thought this is kind of boring, but then I found out that because they knew what the first 10 minutes of the lesson was going to be, then it was predictable, and it got their body, like we warm up our horse's muscles, we warm up our muscles.
Yes.
And then I have like 2 or 3 different exercises in the lesson every lesson we switch it up. So it's like we start out with the same thing, and then I go, okay, during, today's lesson, we're going to work on this. So at least we're always starting their horses and them and getting them set, versus we're going in there and all of a sudden we're starting something new. So it's like getting their body, remember I always say, okay, now it's time to do this, but that's something to me I would think would work really well. Like if you got your first, right? So
That's great.
But it's in the same sort of order.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, next we're doing this. Okay, what's coming, so that you're not like anticipating and trying to listen and try to figure that out. You're already.
That's Colleen, I'm pretty sure.
And so then you can, be ready, get yourself warmed up mentally and physically, and then move on to the next exercise. So that might be something
great.
for you, that like you, when you're at home, like do something repetitive, and then when you go to the horse show, do that so that your body's already getting in the mode, and then go, versus going in the warm up ring. You know what I mean? And then
I'm thinking about that in a show scenario.
Yeah.
And I'm like wondering also how to combat, like when I go to the barn, I like to be there exactly 25 minutes before my lesson starts. Like I'm very punctual. I like to get my things out in a certain order. I do all of that. But at a show, there's so much like, at the end game, it's like, oh, we're 2 hours behind. My train's like, I have to push you because I have this junior here and blah, blah. And then I'm like, okay. So then I try to like mellow out. I'm like, well, I guess I could clean my boots again. And then all of a sudden it's like, there's only 5 left. Why aren't you on? And it's like, it's very
and then it goes fast.
Yeah.
So that,
So it's like, it's very hard to like cultivate
reset. Yeah.
You're just like one student among many.
Sure. That's, I love that you talk about like that warm up that you do. That's part of just kind of how I work with clients and having like a pre-ride warm up. And it's essentially like the same thing every time, whether you're going to do a groundwork session, if you're going to be jumping, dressage, whatever, or just going on a hack, because what that allows for is your body to really know what's coming. Right. And that's where sometimes like those wires can get tripped a little bit, is the unknown in the fear. And so then it kind of heightens everything. So you were talking about like that kind of shift in, okay, I've got 25 minutes. Oh, now I have 45. Now what do? You're kind of having to reset a little bit. And so being able to just kind of reset and just start your routine over or extend it, something like that kind of can build some of that like mental adjustability. I think of like this accordion, it's kind of like sometimes we have to do that, or a lot of times as riders, because we can, even in our rides, we can have a plan, but we've got to be able to adjust that plan with what the ride brings. So working just kind of on those mental strategies out of the tack, even if it's has nothing to do with riding, you're working on different tools, it will always benefit you while riding.
Interesting. So something that I do is that when I'm at the horse show, or if I'm at a lesson, either one, and I'm riding Ollie, for example, and, we warm up. Warm up is usually fine. Oh, it depends. If I start cantering, I'm like, well, I don't know. He's a little quick on his feet, like maybe, or, the minute things start to everything probably is fine in actuality, but my brain will start picking apart, like, I don't know, he seems a little quick. I don't know, he kind of looked at that sign, or, oh, I don't know, like he kind of looked at, whatever, or he kind of sped up to the jump, or whatever the scenario is. So my mind will start building up these things, and I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I think Hannah should just get on him. Yeah, I think I should just let Hannah do it. It's fine. Is that pretty common that when you see your clients start spiraling like that, how do you're like, okay, like, let's reel this in.
A lot of what I see is I need to get off. I want to get off right now. And it's just kind of this like, I can't stay on the horse. And that may be a little bit more of like further down the road of the scenarios, right? The way that our brain is set up is we have stories. And so if we have all of these blanks filled in or not filled in, we will fill them in. So I think he's probably going to spook. I need to avoid this corner now. Now there's this big monster in the corner and I can never go in this corner, or when it rains, I can't ride, something like that. So anytime
those are great, because that's the scary corner. It really exists.
Yeah, it's everywhere, right? It's like we can pick out anything.
Yeah.
So obviously you have to like know your safety. It's like,
for sure.
This is talking about if you are safe, you're just in your head. Anytime we have a fear, and like the corner, we'll use that. It's like this big scary corner. I can't go over there. Every time we avoid it, that grows.
Yeah.
That fear grows, and it really lessens our like feasibility to conquer it. And so being able to say, okay, I really want to like ride through that corner. Maybe you ride halfway to the corner and then loop around.
Yeah.
And do that a few times. Work closely to the corner before being able to complete that goal of like riding through the whole corner. Something like that is helpful. I see a lot of times where people have, I'm here, but I want to be here, but this just doesn't seem feasible at the moment, for whatever reason. Find a middle ground.
Yeah.
And then grow from that middle ground.
Yeah. That's interesting, because I feel like there's been I can think of probably 10 off the top of my head where there's like, whether it's a corner, whether it's a jump, I've heard so many stories of my friends being like, he just doesn't like the green roll top. He just doesn't like it. He doesn't like it. I don't want to jump it. Yeah. And so, or he doesn't go in that corner. He doesn't like it. He spooks every time. Now, would you say that most of the time it actually is the jump, or it actually is the corner, or is it us? Like, is it our issue?
You may not like my answer, but I was about to say it's us, right? It's like they're not thinking probably like, oh, I'm terrified of this green roll top. Like, oh, I got to tell mom, They're just like, oh, why is she not like moving me forward? Am I missing something?
Yeah, is there something scary there?
Yeah, like they're totally feeding off of us,
Yeah.
right? So that's
Damn
why
it.
I bring up that like middle ground. It's like try to find a middle ground. You can always work from there. But 9 times out of 10, it's us.
100%.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, I mean, well, no, I definitely know that. And it's, so that kind of brings me into like, I feel like we're going a little off script because that's just like me.
I love
but,
it. That's great.
I want to talk about something that's like really near and dear to me and something that I really struggled with. And I was talking to Sarah about this earlier. And so Ollie and I had a really bad fall. And I always, when I was a junior and I was in my young riding career, I would always look at like adult amateurs or like, adults in general. And they would say, I had a bad fall and I'm just like having a lot of PTSD and anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then it happened to me. And then I was like, shit, this is so difficult. So Ollie and I had a really bad fall. He fell all the way down to the ground while I was under saddle.
Mm-hmm.
And I like look back and my horse is on the ground. I'm on the ground. And that image is just really, really hard to get out of your head.
Yeah.
He wasn't hurt. I wasn't hurt. Thank God. But it's just like the image and the action of what happened is so terrifying. And I've talked about it before where there was a period of time where I was like, I'm just gonna have to sell him because I can't get over it.
Sure.
And so how would you help me?
Yeah. A few things. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a lot of problems.
Anytime something like that happens, like the way that our brain functions is to keep our body alive. Like that's the whole like desire of the brain is to threat assess, right? And so it essentially starts this recording anytime something bad happens, but it doesn't stop the recording because it needs to be able to warn you if something like that were to happen again. And so it's kind of our job to govern that when that happens. So to like, for you to remind yourself, like if you're just like, trotting like a 20-meter circle and you just kind of like feel that like gut punch of like that coming back, reminding yourself like everything is okay right now. We're trotting the circle. He feels great. Like I'm trotting him on the buckle. Like, just being able to have some replacement experiences, but also like replacement images for that. So like taking like a mental snapshot anytime you have a good ride with him, a good jump, or you get just like a really good line, just kind of like take stock a little bit of like what that experience was like, because you talk about like the image that is so real because we experience life through our 5 senses. So like feeling that, hearing him behind you, turning around and looking at him, like that's something that can be very distressing or traumatic even. So being able to just like also replace some of those with some of like the positive. And it's not this like power of positivity by any means, but it's just like looking at, okay, this was one instance, and this week I've had 4 really good rides on him, being able to just give yourself that space to say that was really awful, but there's no evidence that it's currently happening again.
Yeah. And
that's the tough part.
It's interesting because like, even like days like today, like if he's a lazy horse for the most part. And Hannah knows this too, that if he trips, she'll be like, it's okay. He just hit a rock. Like, it's fine. She knows that I will. I'll be like, I don't know. Like,
does he drag his feet some?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that might be like bringing it up a little bit more.
Yeah.
If your trainer's like saying, oh, it's fine. Like, he tripped on a rock. That's where you can just like maybe take 2 strides and just like exhale. Because if we're nervous, we're going to like be holding a breath, so you may not even have any to inhale.
Yeah.
So just, play around with that. Try just an exhale. See what that looks like, and remind yourself like, okay, we tripped on a rock. We're good. We're heading around to this jump. Like reorient immediately to like what you're doing.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too, and I don't know if you guys struggle with this, but I am like super visual, and I will play things out in my head that are not happening. And so like I'll be cantering. I'll just be cantering. And this happens a lot when I'm at home alone, like just riding. And I'll just envision him falling and me just going straight into the fence. Like it happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't really know how to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I ever will. I don't know if you like can get rid of it or if it's something that like you're just I don't know. I don't know what it is.
That's just an anxious thought and move on.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't.
Going like, that's a weird thought. Why do I think that?
I don't react or do anything differently.
Yeah.
It just happens.
Sure.
You know, like it doesn't
Yeah.
cause me to be scared or like
Yeah.
it just like it happens and then I just like keep doing what I was doing, but it just is always kind of there.
You know, we have these thoughts that just like come in all the time, that some of them are more negative based.
Yeah.
We can't control like what, you know, thoughts enter into our mind, but we can control like what we do with them.
Yeah.
So you had talked about doesn't cause you a lot of fear. Maybe that's something where you just kind of like shoo it away like a fly.
Yeah.
Like it's not that you're avoiding it. You're just saying, oh, I'm not going to latch on to this one, you know, because you're like, I'm, you know, working on my canter transitions right now and we're cantering. Everything's good. So we'll always orient back to like your horse and like what you guys are doing and what you're feeling underneath you. You know, kind of just goes back to that connection with your horse too.
Yeah. And I think too, well,
I had a quick question kind of on this vein of almost like the opposite of that. So like what can you do like in the moment when something actually bad is happening so that it doesn't like imprint so intensely? Like, is there something literally to do in that moment?
Yeah, that's a good question. So whenever something like quote unquote like bad is happening, we're not necessarily in our like thinking side of our brain. We're in the fight or flight or freeze, you know, state. And so that's kind of circling back to what you had said earlier of just kind of that a little bit of that frozen. You may still be riding, but maybe not riding as effectively as you wanted to if you only remember those first two jumps, you know. And so it's kind of going back to that self-governing to get us back into this like kind of green state is what I use it with, is just kind of like if you're in the green zone, you're flowing, you're engaged, all of those kinds of things. So whenever something is happening, like with your fall, you were probably jolted into that, you know, fight or flight. And so sometimes it's not controllable in the moment how we react, but afterwards being able to kind of like unpack the message that we received from that, you know. So a lot of times the message can be like very fear-based and how do I not let this happen again? Or there may be guilt or resentment, just depending on what it is exactly. So being able to just kind of like unpack the message essentially can be helpful. And then, you know, leaning on your support system at the barn is always helpful, because sometimes people who don't ride, they don't get it, you know. And so having just like a solid group of people that you can just kind of call and chat with about it and just reconnecting with your horse and moving forward from there.
Great question. And I know when I had my fall, like when I fell, I stood straight up. I was like, everything's fine. You know, the horse got up. I walked over to my trainer, went in the barn, hosed him off. Everything was fine. Didn't cry. And then I got home and like saw Frank, and I just like completely, like I was like hysterically crying. And so like, is that normal for people to do something like that?
Yeah. You know, whenever we have a big adrenaline spike like that, it doesn't just go away immediately. So you were probably still just in this zone of just trying to get things done, take care of things. And then it's like, once you get out of it, it's like, now you can kind of process. So it's like your body's way of really just kind of keeping you safe, keeping, you know, your horse safe, trying to just take care of business. And then once you got home, you were just like, oh, this is like my safe zone with my person.
Yeah.
You know, I can just kind of be now.
Now, is there ever like a state where you're going through something really traumatic, whether it's horses, non-horse related, doesn't matter. And I've had this happen before, and I don't know like what's going on with your nervous system when this does happen, but where you're like, I'm about to freak the fuck out. but your brain is telling you like you cannot. Like you can't, because you have to handle whatever it is like you are going on, like what's happening. It was a situation with my nephew. I thought he was having like a super bad allergic reaction. I was driving and I was like, oh my God, like my family's out of town. Like I just was like, I could literally just have going to like kind of shock. And then, but then my brain literally turned on and was like, no, like you can't, because you have to take care of this child.
For sure.
So I didn't really know what was happening, because it was a weird sensation, because it was like, I was freaking out.
Yeah.
But I also had to stay composed.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds definitely like you were in fight or flight, because it was just like, get help, figure this out, you know, and it's a little bit of that, you know, panic coming in, and it sounds like your body was just trying to sort through all of that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not necessarily in that thinking side, it's just reactive, you know, to safety.
Yeah. That's wild. I mean, and that's, I guess, you know, when you're dealing with clients at the ring, and whether you're adolescent, at the horse show, doesn't matter. Like, what are some things that you can visually see that starts happening if you see them kind of going towards a spiral?
Definitely a lot of tension, especially like for some reason across like the shoulders, just like I can just see it, you know. Sometimes like a little bit of like bickering with their horse, or agitated with like people around them. I know the warm-up ring can just be like you're fighting for your life in there. You know what I mean? So it's just like you're just doing what you can.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes like that can be really overstimulating for people who are already kind of on the verge of a spiral. And so you may just kind of be a little more out of sync with your horse.
Yeah.
You may notice like you're not able to like hear your trainer as much as like you normally do. Those would be like the main things I see.
Yeah. Now, if you're in a situation where maybe your barn community isn't super supportive, or you feel like you're a little bit alienated, maybe you and your trainer aren't getting along, because I've been in both situations where, you know, I feel so supported, and especially like lessoning with Leslie and Julie, like I feel, I mean, that's really what a good trainer is where when you go into a lesson and that, you know, you feel so safe and secure. I know I feel that with Hannah. I feel that with Leslie. And I just know that they wouldn't allow something to happen if they felt like unsure about something. They wouldn't put me in a situation that, you know, intentionally.
Sure.
Right? Intentionally to do something. Now, if someone's in a situation where maybe they don't feel that, because I've had that too, where, you know, you don't feel as, you know, that trust in your trainer or that your community, how can that like really negatively affect?
A lot, because sometimes, I don't know if y'all have ever experienced this, but if you're kind of presented with this, you know, option, this jump that maybe you haven't done, or, you know, the height is going up, you may not have a lot of confidence in yourself, even though at your core you're like, yeah, I know I can do this, I'm ready, I'm prepared. Sometimes we can like borrow confidence from our trainer, and so if that is not there, it can almost cause even more self-doubt.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have got to have stories. I mean, I feel like I could tell 100 of situations where a height increase or a new horse or something, and your trainer is like, you're going to do it. And you're like, I don't want to.
Am I?
Yeah, like, am I? And that's when you really, like, that's when I will start really, like, shitting myself. Like,
yeah,
it's, I mean, I didn't. I mean, that's like a, you know, no, this time I really, like, I may have. And is it a diaper? A shark kit? Love that. Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, though, I just, like, that will really, really rattle me.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like a good trainer will push you, but in a way that you don't even realize is happening. And you're like, then you think it's your idea, and then you're like, oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Just like a man. Yeah.
All the best trainers have husbands.
Huh?
All the best trainers have husbands that they know how to manipulate.
Exactly. Right. So, I mean, what do you guys feel like relatively supported in all of your endeavors? I know you do. Right. Right. I mean,
Yes, Leslie Marie Seegers is awesome.
That's fine.
okay, so how do we help Julie?
Yeah,
I need like an hour.
How much time do we have?
Not at all. That's actually a really common thing that people struggle with. Being able to just remember, like, we literally like pay for people to critique us.
I know.
Like, I talk to like adult AMEs about that often. I'm like, you realize like you pay for this, right? So, right. Right. We essentially are always looking at how to like improve. Like, what's the thing that went wrong? What's the thing I need to fix to feel better? Right. You were saying I'm in a just really awful mood until I fix it. So one thing that, sure. But when it does, it just gets you in a rut, and one thing just that can be like really helpful just to kind of like remedy that over time is to practice like identifying like something that's going well in the ride. So even if you're like, okay, yes, it's like as a whole, this ride felt terrible, but I had a really good moment here.
Yeah.
Every time you come off of a jumping course, like right off the bat, identify, okay, I feel like this line went well. Or I didn't get a chip here, and like maybe you had 2 other times. So being able to just identify something that you either improved on from the last time or that something that's going well, because it kind of like shines a positive light on the thing that you want to fix or improve on. Because it's like, okay, I did this well. This I'm still not good with, how this is going, but this went well. It balances those scales. So it's not like 100% of this feels terrible, right? It brings you a little bit of balance, which helps that kind of that accordion I was talking about, that mental adjustability helps you to keep going so that you're not stuck there and still, drilling it, for the rest of the lesson and not making any improvements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. The 1% factor.
Yeah, but sometimes though, there are days where you walk out and you're like 10 steps behind where you were, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't find anything. Like, I had a really bad lesson the other day, and a lot of like personal life comes into factor too. If you're like super stressed about whatever is going on in your personal life, and I had it, and it like my mental state just I literally like
for sure.
I
and
couldn't
they feel it. They know. And some days it's like you just got to give yourself grace to say, I'm having a terrible day.
Yeah.
Like my mind's in the gutter and it's just living there today.
Mm-hmm. Who cares?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, where is everybody today?
Yeah, that's great.
How? What's the room I got?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of us says they'll jump. I'm like, well, now I have to because she could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
But I did it in my head and I'm neurotic and I know I'm doing it.
Yeah. No, I think we all have that. 100%. 100%. Yeah. Well, mine, and I think that, we could literally talk about this we can just we'll eat dinner, we'll hold the mics, we'll do all.
Seriously.
Mine, sometimes I get really neurotic about lameness, because my horses have had soundness issues, and I'm like, and it's just this intense. And actually, when I had the bad lesson, it was because Sunny hadn't gotten injected yet, and I just like felt this like intense, like any turn, I'm like, I can't make that turn. It's too tight. It's too tight of a turn. I can't make it. He's going to start limping, and then I'm never going to ride him again, and then it's over. And it's like, well, that's where my mind goes, you know?
Do you feel guilty for trying to make him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, I literally, like, won't do it. I'm like, no. And Hannah's like, we need to work through this. Like, the horse is fine. He's going great. We're getting him injected next week. Like, it's fine.
Remember when I purchased cheese and like the second day I dropped him?
What do you mean you dropped him?
I turned him on this tight little corner because I wasn't used to such a big bootied boy.
Oh.
And he fell to the ground.
He was trying so hard to keep up. And she's just like, oh.
No. I was like,
Oh, after when he fell. But Cheese was like, and he was trying to keep up with her, but he couldn't like turn that tight, and he tried really hard, and he just
and I was the vet was there. I was like, oh, good. Who else can see this? Dr. Carly was right there. I'm like,
let me tell you, now she takes all the room.
yeah.
This is all
Now I'm like,
her.
everybody move away. I am turning.
Oh, yeah,
love
absolutely.
that.
I cried hysterically. I'm like, I just
Yeah.
broke him on day 3. I just purchased this very expensive animal.
Yeah.
I've broken him.
Yeah.
Killed him.
He's done.
She's like, you're fine. I'm like, I'm not fine. He's not fine. I broke him. Yeah.
I mean, the level of neuroses is so, like, there's so many layers to it. So, but is it all kind of the same when you talk about, like, the anxiety? Like, it's all general, like, it's all anxiety, but it all it's about different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the root of it is a lot of times the anxiety of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
People dropping their horses.
That was definitely a first.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Leslie. That makes me feel all the more better.
Oh, Lord. All right. Well, we have been recording for almost an hour now. So, yeah. So I was going to open it up. What questions do you guys have?
One quick question is, I know that you mentioned kind of like self-talk as like one strategy. Like, what are there other like I don't know, breathing or body stuff, or like I don't know, what other like literal tools like do you recommend?
Yeah, generally
other than like
speaking,
shots.
like other than shots, yes, box breathing is really effective, and so the only reason why it's called box breathing is like you just like can imagine yourself making a box. I found that like doing it for like 4 seconds is really helpful. So you inhale for 4, you hold for 4, you exhale for 4, you hold for 4. And I recommend doing like all nasal breathing. A lot of times we're taught to like breathe out through our mouth, which sometimes can be like really helpful, like when we're in the tack, because sometimes breathing out of your nose doesn't feel like it happens quick enough, you know? But before you get on doing that, and just kind of like doing a body scan, just from like head to toe, like, are you feeling tense? Does your stomach feel tight? Anything like that? And sometimes just like jumping up and down, just very little. Like I'm talking just, 1 inch off the ground and just kind of like shaking your body around. What that does is it like loosens those like really tight contracted muscles that is kind of signaling stress to us. So we're kind of getting a little bit to a more like focused, calm place before even getting on. And then just the last thing is, as adult amateurs, we all have life stuff, as juniors, their job is to show up, ride, immerse themselves in the sport, right? They don't necessarily get a front row seat to the financials, the vet bills, all the jobs, family, all of these things, right? And so being able to just like have a practice of like leaving your stuff like in your truck, when you get out and you're at the barn, you're at the barn. And that's a lot easier said than done. You may have to remind yourself, my stuff's in the truck. It'll be there when I'm done.
Right.
But those are just some like general things, like some breathing, just kind of like shaking it out a little bit, and then just like making that practice of leaving your stuff in your car while you're at the barn.
I love that. So I know, that's why we stay at the
Yeah.
barn so long.
Yeah.
And so where can people find you?
So I have a website. It's, you want me to say the website? Okay. So it's HaleighHolom.com, but I also have Facebook and Instagram, which is Haleigh Holom Mental Performance Coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Do what? Yes, my name is spelled very odd. So it's Haleigh, and then my last name is Holom. But I just went live today with a wait list. I'm like creating 3 different workshops. So one is going to be for trainers, just kind of like helping riders navigate all the things. And then I have one for parents of riders and then one for riders. So
amazing.
Very geared towards like the adult amateur. So that's what I'm working on.
I love that. That's amazing. And so do you work with like clients in person and virtually?
Yes. So I'm primarily virtual right now. I just moved to South Alabama, and so I haven't like connected just as much there yet for in-person stuff.
Yeah.
But I do clinics. I actually have a farm that I've gone to a few times in Watkinsville, which is kind of close to here.
Yeah.
So I do clinics. We do mounted and unmounted work in those clinics, and it's all like one-to-one coaching. I go to horse shows with people.
That's amazing.
If they don't want or not able to like have me out to the show, I can also do like virtual coaching.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right. Do we have any more questions for Haleigh before she goes? No questions?
Cool.
Yep.
Okay.
It looks like you guys kind of want to say something. No? All right. Well, we really appreciate you coming out here.
Yeah,
honestly,
thanks for having me.
I really feel like we could be talking about this for another 3 hours. So
Yeah, for
if
sure.
we need another episode, we might need another episode.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was so fun.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yay.